Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. I believe I must express my gratitude to my wife, though I know I will never be able to do so. In truth, I hope she never learns the truth, as it would change everything, and that's something I definitely don't want. It all started the day I discovered her infidelity. It was a tale as old as time. We had planned a date, but something came up, and I had to cancel, leaving her alone. I managed to free myself from my obligations and arrived just in time to see her leaving with another man. I followed them and witnessed her intimate moment with him, which is hard to forget. I quietly left and returned home later that evening to a loving wife who claimed she had been thinking of me all day. She eagerly led me upstairs to our bedroom. For the first time, I consciously accepted what felt like someone else's leftovers, but it was certainly not the last time. I never let her know that I was aware of her unfaithfulness. Life went on. No, I wasn't the type to be complacent knowing my wife was unfaithful. I was simply a man who, at that moment, couldn't afford a divorce. Though I knew it would eventually come to that, for now, I needed to maintain composure and patience. But that didn't stop me from gathering evidence, so that when the time was right, I could approach the lawyers. I suspected that if Louise was cheating, she might be doing so at home as well. So, I equipped the house with audio equipment, bought hidden cameras, and installed them in places where I thought she might entertain her lovers. I even connected a recorder to the phone line. It didn't take long to discover that in addition to her outside escapades, she had relationships with 6 men who regularly visited our home. What upset me the most when I learned of my wife's infidelity was that the men visiting my house were my friends. To keep Louise from finding out, I had to maintain warm relations with them, but I mentally noted that when the time came to confront Louise, they would also face the consequences. 6 months passed, and my cache of evidence continued to grow. I had audio and video recordings of Louise's intimate moments with 6 different men, including several videotapes. Robert, my so-called best friend, was caught on tape no less than 60 times. His wife was in for a surprise when I decided to end things with Louise. What puzzled me most was the amount of love, affection, and closeness Louise showed when she had so many other men. It must have been guilt. There was no other explanation I could think of. Around that time, I also took steps to quietly liquidate assets, turning them into cash and securing them. Realizing that lawyers could easily trace funds hidden in banks, I rented a safe deposit box under my late maternal grandfather's name and social security number. I sold the large boat, telling Louise that it had developed an unpleasant smell, and I had to sell it for only 1/3 of its value. I deposited that third into our savings account and hid the remaining 2/3 in the safe deposit box. The next asset was a lakeside plot of land that Louise knew nothing about. She had always been interested in a cozy lakeside cabin, so I bought the land, planning to build such a cabin as a surprise for our 37th anniversary. Next was my coin collection, which began with my great-grandfather and was passed down from grandfather to father and then to me. After that came collections of firearms, comics, and baseball cards. Soon all that was left was my 2-year-old pickup truck and $200,000 in the safe. The house was heavily mortgaged, meaning Louise would get significantly less from its sale, and I had nothing left to show her or her lawyer. Finally, I was ready to confront Louise, but I decided she would be my last target. I planned to make her witness the downfall of her lovers one by one, causing her to wonder what was happening and perhaps even worry about it. Robert would be the first, not Louise. One morning I pretended to be sick and waited a block away from Robert's house as he left for work. 10 minutes later, his 2 children left for school, leaving Amanda home alone. I rang the doorbell, and Amanda answered, standing at the threshold. "Hi, Bob. What brings you here so early?" she asked. "You just missed Robert." "I didn't come to see Robert. I came to talk to you. Mind if I come in?" "Of course. Come into the kitchen. I'll make you a cup of coffee." As she poured, she asked, "What's the matter?" "I want to address an issue, Amanda, and when I do, you might have a problem too. Since my issue doesn't involve you, I wanted to give you a heads up." "Can we have our coffee in the living room? I want to show you something. I pulled out a tape. I recorded all of Robert's visits to Louise. Inserting the tape into the VCR, I explained what I had discovered about Louise. She was flustered and asked, "Didn't you know?" "Know what?" "She was seeing other people." "No, I had no idea, but apparently you did." "Robert mentioned that she said you were aware and that it turned you on to see her with other men." "Did you know she was involved with Robert?" "No way, Bob. Robert would never betray you like that. He only found out about it from conversations with the other guys." I pressed play, and Amanda watched as Robert sprawled on my bed while Louise moved up and down. Amanda sat speechless for almost a minute. Then she said, "That lying bastard. He assured me he never approached her when you weren't around. The tape shows that he visited her 60 times over the past year. What are you planning to do? Are you going to divorce her for infidelity and bring everyone from my past to court?" "How many were there in total?" 6. "Who are these men?" When I named them, she had a look of disgust on her face. "Wonderful to have such loyal friends, isn't it? So, I'm here to inform you about the situation and give you this tape as evidence if you decide to use it. Can I persuade you to wait a little?" "Why?" "Because Robert is up for a promotion, and my alimony and child support depend on his salary. Let him get the raise, and I can put more pressure on him." "There's another reason." "What is it?" She left the room for almost 5 minutes and returned wearing nothing but black high heels. "I want to get revenge while we're still married and living under the same roof. Are you ready for a little payback?" I had been on high alert since she entered the room without a stitch of clothing. When she asked her question, I unzipped my pants and she playfully smiled at me. "Oh, stop. Not here. It would be better if we did it in his bedroom, on his bed. To be honest, I can't understand why Robert wanted to sleep with my wife when he had a perfectly suitable option. Amanda was tireless and kept me busy until 2 p.m. "Damn, Bob. Why did you stop?" I pointed at the clock in confusion. "I suppose you'd prefer I leave before the kids get home from school." "Oh God, I completely lost track of time. Yes, you're absolutely right. I suppose it's time for you to go. Tell me when we can do this again? Anytime you want. How about tonight? Is that possible? Normally I play bridge with my old school friends in the evenings. I'll just call and cancel. I usually leave at 7 and don't get back until after midnight." "Great. Let's meet at the supermarket parking lot. We can leave your car there and go somewhere else." That night, her desire was even stronger, if that's even possible. I checked into the Hilton, and before I could close the door, Amanda was already reaching for my zipper. We parted ways at 11:30 p.m., and while she was gathering her things, she asked me how long I could hold off leaving Louise. "Why?" "I want this to continue, and once you leave Louise, it will all be over." "Why am I so set on this?" "Because I have to face Robert, and the thought of going home and handing him your leftovers keeps me on edge. I've been dealing with this for 6 months, so I think I can hold out a bit longer. Let me add a little sweetness to this situation. Sheila was my college roommate, and we're sisters with an incredibly close bond. In fact, we have almost no secrets from each other. This afternoon, I called her to tell her what's going on, and she asked me to have you get in touch with her. She's interested in making the same arrangement with you that I have. Just so you know, Sheila isn't on my list. That's because she kept her maiden name after marriage. Her husband's name is Tom Smith, and he is on the list. So, both of you want me to delay pursuing Louise so you can have some fun with your husbands? No problem, dear. Just hold on, and I'll make sure you get as much out of this situation as possible. I might even convince Anna to join us. I know her pretty well, so I'll gauge her interest. I'll explain what Sheila and I have in mind and why. I won't mention Ryan's involvement until I'm sure how she might react to such a scenario. If she says she'd do the same upon finding out Ryan is cheating on her, then we'll proceed further. But how are you going to get your revenge if you're setting me up with all these women? I'm only human, Amanda, and to be honest, I'm just not keeping up with you today. I can't see you every day without Robert starting to suspect something, and I don't want you running after Louise right now, so I'm working on a backup plan to keep you satisfied when I'm not around. It's been almost a year since I first slept with Amanda, and I still haven't left Louise. I'm not sure I ever will. Thanks to Amanda and Sheila, I met Anna, who was a close friend of Doug Burton. Doug, in turn, was very close to Marge Border, and the connections keep going. At this point, I've been involved with the wives of 5 out of 10 names on my list. Yes, you read that right. 10. Louise continues to add to her list of lovers, and it's reached the point where I'm more worried about her finding out about me than about pursuing her. It seems she's starting to catch on. Our intimate relations have dwindled from 4 or 5 times a week to 2 or 3 times a month. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel. Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. It happened back in the days when smartphones were not yet ubiquitous. My friend Henry started suspecting his wife's social circle. One of her close friends had been caught cheating and tried to implicate Henry's wife as well. For a while, Henry had no evidence and everything calmed down. Being an IT specialist, he was well versed in computers and networks. Almost a year later, after attending a class reunion, Henry noticed that his wife's behavior had become suspicious again. He confided in me, and we discussed various options. Eventually, he asked me to drop the subject and, most importantly, to keep everything secret, even from his wife. A few months later, I woke up early, around 6:35 a.m., getting ready for work. Suddenly, I received a message from Henry on the Messenger app. It was a link, but to my surprise, it was in a group chat that included everyone we knew, their families, our friends, acquaintances, and even strangers. I decided not to open it. It turned out to be a malicious link, even though it came from someone as cautious as Henry. Shortly after that, I received an email from Henry containing some alarming comments and the same link. It was a group email with several recipients, including his wife's workplace, her family, her friends, his family, and others I didn't recognize. Realizing the email was legitimate, I decided to open it. The link led to a hastily made website filled with photos and videos of his wife and another man. This wasn't secret footage. There were screenshots, including videos taken over several weeks. Every image was accompanied by scathing comments and colorful nicknames for his wife and her lover. The amount of evidence was simply overwhelming. Chat logs where they eagerly anticipated their next meeting, numerous photos, and the final blow. Her derogatory comments about her husband made to her lover, boasting about how much better he was. Her attempts to inflate her lover's ego were especially painful. I dropped everything to call him. He was drunk and confrontational, having spent the entire night working on the website while drinking. He couldn't say anything positive about women in general and was in an extremely emotional state. After some effort, I managed to convince him to take down the site before it caused irreparable damage to his marriage, their careers, and their children. As he was crying and logging in to delete the site, I suddenly heard raised voices. She had burst into the room. A heated argument ensued, and there was nothing I could do to pull him out of that chaos. Apparently, her mother or sister had seen the page and bombarded her with messages until she finally woke up and checked her phone. Seeing the site, she went on the attack. The call abruptly ended about 20 seconds into her shouting while Henry was calling her names, and I lost all contact with him. Throughout the day, the site remained live, and he had generously added a view counter. Hundreds of viewers witnessed her intimate moments with a married former classmate. Henry had meticulously prepared. He installed a keylogger that recorded everything happening on the screen. When he wasn't home, she would go on the computer or Facebook to spend time with her boyfriend. Henry learned details about her lover, his family, his wife, relatives, and his work. All these people were connected through Facebook and email groups. Although I don't know what ultimately happened to her lover and his marriage, I do know how it affected Henry's life. His wife desperately tried to reconcile, offering everything she could. In the end, it was her remarks about her lover and his skills that sealed her fate. Despite all of Henry's attempts to reconcile, even after all their friends and relatives had witnessed her infidelity, he couldn't get over her comments about his manhood. Eventually, Henry decided to end their 26-year marriage, gathered about 100 new acquaintances, and moved as far away as possible, turning into a rather unpleasant person in the process. I have no idea what he's doing now since he burned bridges with most of his friends and relatives. Meanwhile, she has disgraced herself and now has the face of a homeless person. Excessive drinking has led her to numerous illnesses and addictions. The once graceful and attractive woman has turned into a drunkard. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.